Hi there everybody, I'm Rhiannon from the Epsom Bakehouse. I'm hoping my Wi-Fi will be strong enough to just do a quick live and first of all update you following yesterday's live and show you the next steps. I'll just give you a few minutes. If you came along yesterday, thanks ever so much. I had loads of comments on the video and questions about making a sourdough starter, which is what we'll continue to discuss today. And loads of questions, things like storing your starter, using your starter in different breads, how much starter to make for different quantities and how much you're going to use it. Really great questions, and what I'd like to do is address all of those in a different separate live. We'll do another one later in the weekend, probably on Sunday. But thank you ever so much, and if you did join and you did comment, thank you, and let me know if you do have any other questions, and also let me know if you've started your own sourdough starter. Fantastic, and let me know how it's getting on. Does it look like mine? Doesn't have to. And how's it getting on? Are you getting signs of life? If you've started one and you've got a picture, pop it in the comments. And if you're watching now, do say hi, or do say hi if you're watching the replay. And if you're watching on catch up, where are you watching from, and have you started your sourdough starter? We're doing a rye one, and how's it looking? So what we're going to do today is I'm very quickly just going to show you what mine looks like now. It's been just over 24 hours, not particularly warm day. Probably did have the heating on for a little bit, but just going to have a look at what it looks like. There is some signs of life, so let me just pan down. So there you go, excuse the very harsh lights. But like you can see, there are some bubbles. You see the little bubbles on the surface? And also it's got a kind of sweet-ish, fruity smell. And something you'll have to get used to if you've never made it before is the smell of your starter. I'm just leaning in for a little to see. So that is what it looks like after day one. There's not much bubbles, but there are some. And that means it is doing something. And don't worry if yours doesn't have lots of bubbles. That's fine too. But you do want to just keep a check out for bubbles and some signs of life. And as I said, the smell. So kind of fruity, sweet smell is good. If it starts to smell really acidic or like nail polish remover, acetone, then that's when your starter's starting to struggle, particularly in warmer environments, so maybe not so much right now, but particularly when it's a bit warmer, what happens is that, yes, the yeast are in there and they will start to grow, but more quickly bacteria will start to grow, and sometimes bacteria you don't really want in there will take over, and that's what's producing your kind of acetone smell. So what we're going to do today is simply what is usually called a refresh or a feed of a start. And because we've only just started, we're actually just going to add in some more flour and water. And it will be the same as yesterday. So just to go back to yesterday, if you didn't catch it, you can go back to the feed on my Epsom Bakehouse page, and you will find a video there, a live video from yesterday. And if you're watching on replay, that was Thursday, the 14th of September. So what we discussed yesterday was, what is a starter? Why do you want one? What's it going to get used for? How did we make it? The kind of flour that I'm using, and the kind of process that you should expect when you're making a sourdough starter. So what else did we talk about? And then we just mixed together. To be honest, the actual hands-on time of when you're making a starter should be 2 minutes, literally that, just mixing together some flour and water and popping it back on the side in your kitchen. So we'll just concentrate in this live on building the rest of your starter. So all I will do is pop in some more flour and water. So what I would suggest is, now you've got to this stage where you've got a bit of starter and it's fairly liquid. What I would suggest is that you actually add in the water first to make it really liquid, rather than drying it up. I'm just having a look. If you pull that back with the spoon, you can just see some bubbles popping on the surface there. Alright, so I'm going to put in, it's another 50 grams of water. Get that to 0. So I've just got tap water here. $49 again. Tap water is fairly cool. It will come to room temperature. So it definitely don't make it hot. It should never be warmer than your finger, because otherwise it will kill any of the yeast. So 50 grams, give that a stir. Break up your burgeoning starter. Oh, you can just see some bubbles coming to the surface as I'm doing that. And now we'll grab our rye flour. And we talked about this yesterday, wholemeal rye flour. That's what I'm going to put in. And I'm going to put in another 25 grams. There we go. I didn't zero it, so we've added 25, so we're up to 75. And give it a stir. So you're feeding, basically as the yeast are starting to develop and grow and multiply, they're feeding on the flour in there. So this is why you have to do it at the start every day, because you need to give the yeast additional food. So you'll come back once every day and give your starter a good feed. But once you've done that, you can kind of leave it on the side. Alright, so that is it. And then we take our shower cap and I will pop that back over the top. You can cover it with cling film if you want. So that was day 2 of making our starter. What I will do is post in the links, once we've finished, a link to my sourdough pages on my website. So there's a bit more information about starters there, making your own starter. You can follow the recipe that I'm using and see where we're headed, basically, and find out more about what's going on. I'll pop that in the comments, so have a look for it. As I say, do let me know if you've got any questions. Give me a shout. Find out more, and I will put this on the timeline so you can watch this and you can watch day 1 if you didn't see it. Do let me know, and I will see you again tomorrow, and we'll add a bit more flour and water and see how that starter is progressing. Otherwise, I leave you on a Friday evening. Have a good evening and have a lovely weekend, and I will see you soon.